Hey there. Today we're going to talk about the gadgets you use every single day but probably never give a second thought to. We're diving into the hidden life of your computer peripherals.
I mean, seriously, think about it. Your keyboard, your mouse, even the random cable you just plugged in. You use them constantly. But have you ever really stopped to wonder what they're actually doing behind the scenes?
Yeah, we're talking about all of it. The keyboard your fingers are on right now, the mouse that's guiding your every move, even the monitor you're looking at. We call them peripherals, and they're basically our bridge to the entire digital world.
So, what's the official definition? Well, a peripheral is basically any extra piece of hardware that helps your computer talk to the outside world. It's not a core component, like the main processor, but it's what makes the machine actually useful to us. It's what makes the experience happen.
All right, first up, let's talk about the one peripheral you're most in touch with. Literally, your keyboard. And we're going way beyond just the flat piece of plastic on your desk to look at the real science of comfort. So, check this out. On the left, you've got the classic, straight-as-a-board keyboard we all know and love. But on the right, that's a curved prototype from a University of Washington study. The whole idea was pretty simple. Why are we forcing our hands into this awkward straight line? Let's make a keyboard that actually fits our hands. But here's where it gets tricky. The study found something really interesting. A lot of people look at these ergonomic keyboards and think there's some kind of orthotic or medical device. They just look weird, maybe a little intimidating, so people stick with what they know. The big challenge then becomes, how do you design something that's comfortable without scaring everyone away?
So, what did they find? Well, the first big win for this curved design was this: a 2.2-degree reduction in what's called ulnar deviation. That's just a fancy way of saying the sideways bend in your wrist. Now, 2.2 degrees might not sound like a lot, but when you think about the thousands of keystrokes you make in a day, that tiny change adds up to a huge reduction in strain.
And it gets even better. That built-in wrist rest, it reduced wrist extension, that's the upward bend, by more than 6 degrees. That is a huge deal for keeping your hands in a much more natural, much more relaxed position. It's all about that long-term health. Okay, so we've talked about the physical side of things, but what about the invisible stuff? The data itself. How does all that information fly from your device to your computer in the blink of an eye? Let's talk speed. This table really tells a story. It's all about how our connection standards have evolved. And the big thing to notice is how much the guaranteed performance jumps with each step. Take Thunderbolt 5. It's not just capable of 80 gigabits per second, that's the minimum it has to deliver. It also demands support for things like two 6K monitors and a really wide data lane, that's the PCI tunnel, for super fast connections to things like external graphics cards. So what does this all mean for you when you're buying a new cable or a laptop? It really comes down to one word: guarantees. When you see that Thunderbolt logo, you know you're getting a certain high level of performance. It's mandatory. With USB 4, on the other hand, a lot of those same top-tier features are optional. That means you could have two different devices with USB 4 ports, and they could give you wildly different real-world experiences. Okay, so the data is zipping through the cable at these incredible speeds. But how does the computer even know it's there? How does it listen? Let's dive inside the machine and look at the digital handshake that makes it all happen. It all kicks off with something called an interrupt. And honestly, the best way to think about it is like a doorbell for your computer's processor. You press a key, you click the mouse, and that device sends a signal, an interrupt, that's basically shouting, "Hey, processor, I know you're busy, but pause for just a millisecond, I've got something for you." And the way the computer handles this is just genius. It's called an interrupt service routine. The processor immediately pauses what it's doing, it saves its exact spot, like putting a bookmark in a book. Then it zips over, handles the request from your mouse or whatever, and then it goes right back to that bookmark and picks up exactly where it left off. You never even notice it happen. But imagine if your hard drive had to ring that doorbell for every single tiny piece of data. Your processor would never get anything else done. That's why we have something called direct memory access, or DMA. DMA is like a VIP express lane for data. It lets high-speed devices send information straight to the computer's memory, completely bypassing the processor. This frees up the processor to do the heavy lifting, making your entire system way, way faster. So let's just recap. These devices can interrupt our processor at any moment, and some can even get a direct VIP pass to our computer's memory. Now that we get how deep that connection really is, it's time to talk about the dark side. We need to talk about the Trojan horse that might be sitting on your desk right now. So let me just ask you this straight up. Could your keyboard be spying on you?
Could that USB cable you just found be a threat? The really unsettling answer is yes, absolutely. Yeah, hackers have gotten really clever about this. The Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity breaks it down into a few types. First, you've got smart cable manipulation. This is where they literally hide a tiny malicious computer inside a cable that looks perfectly normal. Then there are firmware vulnerabilities. This is malware that lives on the device itself, on your mouse, on your keyboard, making it basically invisible to your antivirus software. And finally, remember that super fast DMA highway we talked about? They can hijack it. A DMA attack lets them bypass all the normal security and get direct access to your system's memory. It's like having the master key to everything.
Okay, I know that sounds absolutely terrifying, but don't panic. The risks are definitely real, but being aware of them is half the battle. There are actually some pretty simple, practical things you can do to keep yourself and your data safe.
It all comes down to being a little more careful about what you plug into your computer. First off, think about where your peripherals come from. Be really suspicious of those freebie USB sticks or cheap, no-name devices. If any of your gadgets have a default password, change it, right now. And yes, your peripherals have their own software called firmware. Keep it updated. Also, maybe turn off features that let devices connect automatically. You want to be in control. And last but not least, when you get rid of old gear, make sure you properly wipe it clean.
And all of this really leads to one final big question. Our devices are more powerful and more connected than they have ever been. And that's amazing, right? But that same complexity, that same power, can also hide some very real dangers. So as we continue to plug more and more of our lives into these machines, we have to ask ourselves, are we actually prepared for the risks?
Hey everyone, thanks for watching till the end. If you found this helpful, hit that like button and share it with your friends. Got a topic in mind? Drop it in the comments and we'll get creating. Thanks again and see you in the next one.